This is ABC15 Mornings.
Now at 6, devastating wildfires continuing to burn at this hour, creating major air quality issues along the West Coast, including here in the Valley. The latest developments as crews continue to try and gain control of the growing fire threat.
And it's expected to be a big day for Arizona businesses following closures during the pandemic. We speak with one local bar and restaurant about how the NFL football season could be their saving grace after months of being shut down.
The whole, premise of what we do is to provide an equitable opportunity for students who otherwise wouldn't get it.
Putting the joy of music back into the lives of children across our state. New for you at 6 this morning, the organization making it their goal to help kids flourish in the arts and better prepare for their future.
And all new this morning, how Sea Life Arizona is planning to honor health heroes in our community, and that's happening today. And with that, we want to say good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for ABC 15 Mornings. It is Sunday morning, and before you head out to church or any Sunday fun day activities, we want to get a check of that most accurate forecast. Hey, how are we shaping up out there this morning?
So it's still nice outside this morning. We're still enjoying those slightly cooler mornings. It's just a little bit warmer today than it was this time yesterday, but very comfortable. 77 degrees outside right now. No wind to speak of, and you definitely already can see as the sun slowly gets closer to rising in about 10 minutes here, that haze in the background. But it's still nice enough that if you want to open the patio doors and take that coffee outside, maybe even have a hot coffee for once or a hot cup of tea instead of on ice like we have all summer, then do that. We're going to stay in the 70s for another couple hours here. Then by 8 o'clock, we're in the low 80s. Still nice, staying in the 80s at 9 o'clock this morning. I'll talk more about how warm we will get, though, because it will be a little hotter than it was yesterday. That's coming up in just a few moments. But first, I want to talk about that haze that you're seeing, because it is connected to what continues to be a huge story in our region. Wildfires ravaging parts of Oregon, California, and the state of Washington. It has left tens of thousands of people displaced. This morning, the region's death toll now tops at least 30 people, and it could continue to increase in the coming days. California has the brunt of the death toll so far. More than 24 active fires have burned across thousands of square miles in that state alone.
And if you caught a glimpse of the sun in the valley this week, it was in the morning or in the evenings. You've noticed the red color that does make for some pretty amazing pictures. Just check out some of these that were sent in by our viewers just in the past 24 hours. Unfortunately, the color and the haze coming from those wildfires burning to our west, and that unhealthy air quality, it is really affecting the people out there in California, because they're the ones who are dealing with it firsthand, and it is so close. I remember reporting there where sometimes it would just look like a blackout in the middle of the afternoon. But it is shutting down outdoor weekend plans for a lot of people, and experts say that California has some of the worst air quality in the world right now.
We can feel that the air is not healthy.
And in some parts of the Bay Area, libraries, they are reopening for the first time since the pandemic to act as safe air centers. Doctors, they've been encouraging everyone to just stay inside.
It is very dangerous to be out in this kind of air. So it's important for everyone to have a mask if they have to be outside. And to try and filter this kind of matter, you really would need an N95 mask.
Now, there is some good news. Cleaner air is expected to return a little bit later this week, which means that our air quality here in the valley should also improve.
Talk about the coronavirus. We will be getting the latest coronavirus numbers in our state within the next hour or so, but the latest numbers as of Saturday do show more than 600 newly confirmed cases. That brings our statewide total to more than 208,000 overall. Right now, the percentage of tests coming back positive stands at 6%, so we're trying to get that number down. Sadly, 27 more Arizonans have died from the virus. That brings the total number of lives lost in our state to 5,315. Now this week,
I'm sorry, guys, I've lost audio here.
So face coverings and social distancing guidelines will still be required. The plan is also going to include some direction of opening city parks and recreation facilities as well. So a lot of people looking forward to that. Today, Arizona businesses could be getting a big boost following the hit from the pandemic. NFL football, of course, getting underway this week, and it could mean some pretty big crowds at sports bars and restaurants, which are open for today's games. For Doc and Eddie's in Tempe, for example, today could be a crucial money-earning day for them following a devastating fire that happened last spring, and then a drop in crowds because of the pandemic as well. The general manager is hoping for a crowd, but tells us they will be following the 40% capacity restriction, and they will continue to follow safety guidelines.
I have a busser slash sanitizer, that's what we're calling her, that goes around. Tables bust, sanitize.
Now, doors open at 9:30 this morning, but the general manager there says that they do expect to start turning people away at about 10:30 when they hit capacity.
And happening this week, you can get a free coronavirus test at Kingdom of the Valley Church. Testing will take place Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. until 11 a.m. and they estimate to give out around 700 tests a day. Organizers just ask that you do register at rrtesting.com before you arrive to get tested. And right now, the COVID-19 Prevention Network, they're trying to encourage more minorities to go out there and get tested and volunteer for some of the trials that are also going on right now. And ads for it, they started airing on TV Tuesday, encouraging Black and Hispanic people to join. Dr. Anthony Fauci emphasized that diversity is important in these trials, saying that more than a third of volunteers need to be Latino and more than a quarter should be Black. Vaccines and medicines can work differently in different racial and ethnic groups. Black people are more than twice as likely to get coronavirus. Latinos nearly 3 times as likely to become infected, according to the CDC.
Now let's get another check on that most accurate forecast. Give you your activity planner for the day. The temperatures are largely in the 70s across the valley, so we're going to give you the green light if you want to go for a run, a hike, or a bike ride. Just remember that you still need to hydrate even with these nicer morning temperatures because it's still very dry out there. And if you're hiking, you should still try to go earlier than later because we will be hitting triple digits today, and that is when you want to be off the trails already. Our forecast high today, 102 degrees. The average is 101, so at least we're close to where we should be for this time of year, and we're not even close to the record of 109 that was just set back in 2000. Live view of Camelback Mountain in the background there, and you can see those hazy skies. They will be sticking around for the rest of the afternoon and into tomorrow. I'll talk about when we could finally get some clearing, though, here in the valley coming up in that full, most accurate forecast.
All right, Lily, thank you so much. And public schools, they have been struggling with budgets over the years, and it's often the art programs that are the first to go. ABC 15's Kaylee O'Kelly shows us an organization that's helping kids go places by keeping the music alive.
The music arts are silent at lots of schools across the state, but there is a place putting music back in the lives of Arizona's children.
Maybe a little under tempo and start a little bit lower in your bow.
Private lessons, group instruction, all free to kids who couldn't otherwise afford it.
The whole premise of what we do is to provide an equitable opportunity for students who otherwise wouldn't get it.
Rosie's House is an organization dedicated to giving kids access to music.
I mean, we see that there's clearly an inequitable system in our state with many schools and districts not offering music and arts education anymore. And more times than not, the schools that don't have arts and music education are going to be in low income areas.
It's much more than just learning how to play an instrument.
Through music, they're learning things like how to be hardworking, respect, they're learning teamwork skills, perseverance, leadership skills, confidence. For us, it's more than music. It's also the skills they're learning are helping break a cycle of poverty as well.
According to Rosie's House, 96% of the kids who go through their program go on to college.
It's not just a nice to have opportunity for those privileged enough to access it. This type of education is critical to our communities and to our young people, and it's just known to help young people reach great success.
And that should strike a chord with everyone. Kaylee O'Kelly, ABC 15, Arizona.
And for their efforts helping kids go places, Rosie's House is getting a $500 gift card from Your Valley Toyota dealers.
Hey, this is pretty neat, honoring healthcare workers in our community. New for you this morning and happening today, Sea Life Arizona will be naming one of their animals in honor of a frontline worker. We're talking about the black-tip reef shark, which you see swimming back and forth there. The aquarium says that the sharks are some of the toughest animals in the ocean, but that our healthcare workers are even tougher. Boy, don't we know it, and they continue to show their strength throughout this pandemic. The hope is to honor one health professional today by naming a shark after that worker. So that's a pretty neat honor and something that person will be able to talk about for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. Those sharks are so cool looking too. All right, well, it's 6:11. Switching gears here a bit now. Still ahead, ambushed on the job, the latest developments after a gunman opens fire on 2 deputies just sitting in their patrol car. What we're learning about the 2 officers and their condition this morning.
Plus, a shooting victim found on the Loop 101, but now Phoenix police are taking over the investigation from DPS. The new information that we have learned overnight about the victim.
And one elderly power walker's exercise efforts over 3 decades is now adding up to one seriously impressive milestone. Welcome back, everybody. We've got shocking new video this morning showing a suspect ambushing 2 Los Angeles sheriff's deputies. This happened last night. Surveillance video posted by the department on Twitter shows a man walking up to the passenger side of the patrol car, raising a gun up to the window and then opening fire. The suspect is then seen running away. The deputies, they were able to radio in for help and were transported to a local hospital. They are in serious condition this morning. They have not been identified by name, but the department is saying that one of them is a 31-year-old mother and the other is a 24-year-old man. Both were reportedly new graduates and had just been sworn in to their duties 14 months ago. An investigation and search for the suspects is now underway. Back here closer to home, we are working to learn more about a shooting investigation that officials say happened on the Loop 101 near 59th Avenue. Now, DPS troopers say that they found the shooting victim on the freeway, but the incident actually took place on Thunderbird Avenue. The victim was only identified as a juvenile. And police, they are also taking part in this investigation. Phoenix police is, and they are still working to learn more about exactly what happened in this case.
Now to that most accurate forecast to help you plan for your day ahead. If you're thinking about maybe wanting to get out, get a run in this morning, it's still great running weather. We're in the 70s across most of the valley. That sun is up this morning. It officially rose at 6:11, but we're going to warm up a little faster today than we did yesterday. By 10, we're already in the 90s. By 2 o'clock, we've crossed over into triple digits, and so you really want to be limiting your outdoor activities at that time. Have just a few 60s hanging on out there this morning. 66 in Buckeye and Maricopa. 67 in Levine as well as Chandler, 66 in Gilbert, 69 in Santan Valley. But we're in the 70s in Apache Junction, 77 in Fountain Hills as well as Peoria this morning, 75 up in Anthem. To our south, we're at 70 degrees in Gila Bend, out in Yuma, also in the low 70s, 60s in Quartzsite, Sedona also in the 60s this morning. But we've got 50s in Prescott and Show Low, Heber down to 40 degrees, 34 in Flagstaff, 36 at the Grand Canyon and in Window Rock, so close to freezing there. However, still a few degrees warmer than we were this time 24 hours ago. Flagstaff is a degree warmer. Grand Canyon, 4 degrees warmer than it was yesterday, 9 degrees warmer in Cholo, and here in the valley, we're about 4 degrees warmer than we were this time yesterday morning. So something just to be mindful of, that you will notice the mornings getting just a little bit warmer as we warm up this week. Now, we will still see that haze out there. Live view from our South Mountain camera, it's very apparent, and that is from the smoke blowing in from the west from those western wildfires. Fortunately, the smoke is sitting very high in the sky, so it's not affecting our air quality too much. We're in the moderate category, which is good news for us. Unless you're extremely sensitive and you have asthma or COPD, you really shouldn't notice it. Otherwise, you do want to limit your time outside. Here's that planner hour by hour. We'll stay in the 70s, a couple more hours here, and then by 8 o'clock, we start moving into the 80s, still comfortable. By 10, though, we're in the 90s and climbing. At noon, we're at 99 degrees. That's when you want to turn around and get off those trails, because then we cross over into triple digits. 102 is that forecast high across much of the valley in Mesa, Glendale, Ahwatukee, and Goodyear. We'll be right at 100 degrees in Surprise, as well as the Deer Valley neighborhoods and Fountain Hills. Same for Queen Creek, 101 in Chandler, and Gilbert 102 in Maricopa for today. So finally, we're getting on par with the average, but we're not going to stay there for long. 102 also the forecast in Casa Grande, 94 in Safford. We'll be in the 90s in Sedona, staying in the 80s in Prescott and Payson. Sholo 80 degrees as well. Flagstaff warming to the upper 70s, and we've got triple digits along our western border. Tomorrow, we get just a little bit warmer, but some breezes move in, so that's going to help move the haze out of the valley by Tuesday. And then we continue to warm up as the sun shines through. Hottest day of the week right now looking to be Thursday, 107. So we're getting really hot once again and going a couple degrees above the average for this time of year.
Art fans, listen up. You'll be able to enjoy the light and water displays of Canal Convergence this fall, but there is a change this year. You're going to have to venture beyond the Scottsdale waterfront to experience it all. The 10-night free outdoor exhibition runs November 6th through the 15th. Installations, they will be spread out across multiple sites to allow for social distancing, and this year's theme is Reconnect, and how fitting that is. And new this morning, an 88-year-old's exercise routine will soon become a virtual globe-trotting good deed. Check out this story here. In 1988, Brad Hathaway faced some serious health problems, and his doctor gave him some advice. He says that you better start walking at least 3 miles a day. So he did, taking daily strolls and then logging the miles all along the way. Now, over 30 years later, and Brad is still walking each day. He recently tallied up his mileage, and he realized that he's about to have walked the same distance as the circumference of the globe. And he plans to cross his globe-trotting milestone as part of a fundraising effort. And then he says he's just going to keep on going. Reminds you of Forrest Gump a little bit, maybe? All right, well, it's 6:20 now on your Sunday morning. Coming up, changing the curriculum, a group of students also keeping conversations going by influencing change in the classroom across the country. And later, text messaging scams, how criminals are getting a hold of your phone number and what you need to be aware of if you get one of these messages. Welcome back, everybody. And as Black Americans across the country continue to make sure their voices are heard, one group decided they wanted to make a change. So this group of students, they said that Black history wasn't being taught enough in their school. So Dan Grossman now shows us how this demand for change now has even other school districts listening.
During the formative years of high school, many of us find ourselves searching.
I learned more from my white mother than I did in schools.
As a senior at Dr. Martin Luther King Early College, a 6 through 12 middle high school in Denver, Alana Mitchell often felt out of place.
I always thought that I wasn't Black enough to do anything because everyone around me had always told me I was either too white or too Black.
The daughter of a white mother and Black father, she was always told who she was by peers, but never taught it by teachers.
It's really just something that we feel like needs a lot more attention.
It was something she and fellow senior Janelle Nenga knew had to change, but didn't know how.
It was there in the museum where the students realized There was a lot of history and culture that they had not been exposed to or taught.
Didn't know until their principal, Kimberly Grayson, took them and 15 other seniors on a trip to the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. last October.
The students asked me, Grayson, you are a leader of color, yet we only have one class that represents Black history in our building.
And that's when things began to change.
They asked the history teachers to take a trip to the African American Museum so that they could see and feel firsthand the same experience that the students felt.
Within a week, the group of teachers, every single one of them white, came back and started teaching differently. And Kimberly started to get calls from other school districts about how they could do the same.
It leaves me speechless, because I know through them change is going to come. And to know that I'm a part of that change simply by supporting them makes me know that I'm leaving a legacy through them.
Now, when we talk about slavery, we're not talking about one trauma or one specific event. We're talking about generations of trauma.
Now, the students have an hour podcast that broadcasts each week and is listened to by teachers and students nationwide.
Our vulnerabilities were supported, and that's something that doesn't really happen in our community.
They also have learned not just about their history, but themselves.
A lot of people had told me that I was never going to be successful, I was going to drop out by the time I was 16, and that maybe I wouldn't even make it to 16. But here I am, 16, making a change this big to... That's crazy. We're still fighting in 2020 just to have our lives matter.
In a time where our country is still searching for an answer, these students have found their voice.
I am incredibly proud and honored to just be a leader and work alongside these young ladies.
Reporting in Denver, I'm Dan Grossman.
Still to come this morning, a tribute for the fallen. How many in the Valley will be honoring victims in the 9/11 attacks today as part of a national event?
Plus, our ABC15 investigators explain one proposal that would cost departments who don't have body cameras.
That's giving you a live look outside at our hazy skies. These are the McDowell Mountains in the distance there. We'll talk more about that most accurate forecast and when the breezes will pick up and help clear our views. That's coming up.